As long as I stand, Babylon lives.
All flames die, Ira, even yours.
Why fight? The dark always wins.
You are nothing. I am fire incarnate. I built worlds. Now I crush them. Run or rot. Makes no difference.
The storm was never gone, only waiting.
I am the end. You cannot stop me.
The underworld, deep and eternal, was a place where time ceased to have meaning. A realm of darkness and despair, where the souls of the damned writhed in endless torment. Their screams echoed through the caverns of the abyss. The air was thick with the stench of sulfur and decay, seeping into the bones of those trapped within. Rivers of fire and brimstone cut through the land, their banks lined with the twisted remains of the lost. Amidst this hellish landscape, Tiamat brooded. Once a force of chaos, a goddess who had rivaled the might of the heavens, she had been cast down, her power sealed away by Marduk and his allies. Now she lingered in the shadows, her form diminished but her fury undimmed. She burned with hatred, a fire that refused to die.
They thought they had won. They thought their chains would hold me forever.
For eons she plotted. Her mind, sharp as ever, wove intricate plans of vengeance. She would not be bound forever. She would rise again. Tiamat knew that her revenge could not come from mere demons. They were bound to the gods of hell, slaves to their will. Nor could she rely on humans, weak and fleeting as they were. No, she needed something else. Something beyond the sight of the gods, beyond their reach and understanding.
Blood and shadow, fire and stone, I forge a being unknown.
Pain and sacrifice marked her journey. She shaped her creation with relentless determination, calling upon the very essence of chaos itself. From the abyss, something stirred, something new, something born to defy the heavens. Tiamat's first step in her dark plan was to gather the raw materials for her creation. She needed souls, millions of them, but not just any souls would do. She required the most twisted, the most evil, the most corrupted souls that had ever passed through the gates of hell. These were the souls of tyrants and murderers, of those who had committed the most heinous of crimes, their spirits blackened by their deeds in life. These souls had long been condemned to suffer in the deepest pits of the underworld, their pain fueling the fires of hell. With a will forged from her boundless hatred, Tiamat began to summon these souls to her side. She called to them with a voice that resonated through the very fabric of the underworld, a voice that was both a whisper and a roar, a sound that could chill even the dead to the bone. The souls, drawn by her power, came willingly, their essence coalescing into a swirling vortex of darkness and despair. They knew not why they were summoned, only that they could not resist the pull of Tiamat's will. As the souls gathered around her, Tiamat reached out with her power, weaving them together into a single mass of seething, writhing energy. She drew upon the ancient magics that had once made her a goddess, channeling her fury and pain into the creation of something new, something that had never existed before. The souls screamed as they were bound together, their essence twisted and reshaped by Tiamat's will. It was a process that defied the natural order, a violation of the laws that governed the universe. But Tiamat cared nothing for such things. She was driven by her need for revenge, and nothing would stand in her way. The process of forging Bray from the souls she had gathered was long and arduous. Tiamat poured every ounce of her power, every drop of her hatred into the task. She shaped the mass of souls with a careful hand, molding it into the form she desired. She envisioned a creature that was both beautiful and terrible, a being that could charm and seduce, but also destroy with a single thought. She wanted Bray to be the ultimate weapon, a creature that could move through the world unseen by the gods, and yet bring about their downfall. Tiamat began by crafting Bro's body, shaping it from the darkness itself. She gave him the form of a man, tall and strong, with a face that could captivate the heart of any who gazed upon it. His features were perfect, each line and curve designed to draw the eye, to ensnare the senses. His hair was as black as the void, his eyes deep pools of darkness that seemed to hold the secrets of the universe within them. His skin was smooth, unblemished, with a coldness that hinted at the true nature of his soul. But Bray was not just a man, he was a creature of immense power. Tiamat infused his form with the strength of 1,000 demons, the cunning of 100 devils. She wove into his being the essence of the souls she had gathered, binding their malevolence and cruelty into the very core of his existence. Bray would be stronger than any demon, more powerful than any god who ruled over the underworld. He would be a creature of pure darkness, unbound by the laws of the cosmos, unseen by the eyes of the gods. As Tiamat worked, she encountered obstacles that tested even her formidable will. The souls she had gathered were not easily tamed. They resisted her control, fought against being molded into something new. They writhed and screamed, their agony palpable as Tiamat forced them into submission. But she was relentless, her desire for revenge driving her to push through the pain, to bend the souls to her will. Slowly, painfully, Bray began to take shape. His body solidified, his features becoming more defined, more real. The darkness that surrounded him coalesced into a tangible form, and he emerged from the void as a being of terrifying beauty and power. He stood before Tiamat, fully formed, his eyes glinting with a malevolent intelligence. When the process was complete, Bray stood before Tiamat, his eyes glowing with a cold, dark light. He was beautiful, more beautiful than any creature that had ever existed. His features were perfect, his form flawless, but there was a coldness to him, a cruelty that lurked just beneath the surface. He was a being of pure darkness, a creature born of the hatred and pain that had driven Tiamat for so long. Bray was complete, but Tiamat knew that the time was not yet right to unleash him upon the world. The gods still watched, their eyes ever vigilant, their power still strong. If she released Bray now, the gods would see him, would sense the darkness that emanated from him, and they would destroy him before he could fulfill his purpose. Tiamat knew she had to be patient. She had to wait for the right moment. The moment when the stars aligned, when the gods' attention was diverted, when Bray could slip into the world unnoticed. It would be a time when the balance of the cosmos was in flux, when the power of the gods was weakened, when they would be blind to the movements of the underworld. Until that time, Tiamat would keep Bray hidden, deep within the darkest corners of the underworld, where even the gods dared not look. She would nurture him, teach him, mold him into the perfect weapon. She would fill his mind with her hatred, her desire for revenge, her longing to see the gods brought low. Bray would be her instrument, her avatar in the world above, and he would bring about the destruction of all that the gods had built. As the time drew near, Tiamat felt a strange emotion stir within her, a sense of pride, of attachment to the creature she had created. Bray was more than just a weapon. He was a part of her, a manifestation of her will, her strength, her power. He was her child, born of her pain and hatred, and she could feel the bond between them growing stronger with each passing day. Yet she knew that she could not allow herself to become too attached. Bray had a purpose, and that purpose was to destroy the gods, to bring about the end of the world they had created. He was a creature of darkness, a force of destruction, and Tiamat could not afford to let her emotions interfere with her plans. In the infinite expanse of the celestial realm, where time stretched endlessly and the stars themselves seemed to hum with the vibrations of the cosmos, Marduk stood upon the highest peak of heaven. His gaze was fixed upon the world below, the mortal realm where the lives of men unfolded in fleeting moments, their joys and sorrows but ephemeral blips in the grand tapestry of existence. Marduk, the supreme god, the lord of the heavens, was a being of immense power, his very presence commanding awe and reverence. His form, though intangible and shifting like the light of distant stars, was regal and imposing. His eyes, deep and endless as the night sky, held within them the knowledge of ages, the wisdom of a god who had shaped worlds and waged wars against the forces of chaos. Yet, for all his power and wisdom, Marduk was not without care. His heart, though distant from the concerns of mortals, still held a place for the world he had helped to create. And within that world, his thoughts were often drawn to one being in particular, a being who was neither fully God nor fully human, but something in between. Ira. Marduk watched as Ira moved through the mortal world, a figure of cold fire and unyielding strength, a warrior who had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious time and again. Ira, born from the fusion of divine power and mortal will, was a creature of extraordinary potential, a force that Marduk had shaped with his own hands, yet had allowed to walk its own path, unburdened by the direct influence of the gods. Yet even as Marduk's thoughts were filled with pride and hope, a shadow began to creep into his mind, a shadow that he could not ignore. In the far reaches of heaven, where the light of the stars faded into the deep void of the unknown, Marduk felt a disturbance, a faint ripple in the fabric of the cosmos. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was there, a dark presence that gnawed at the edges of his awareness. Ever attuned to the balance of the universe, Marduk could not shake the feeling that something was amiss, that the world he had worked so hard to protect was on the brink of a great upheaval. He turned his gaze inward, focusing on the currents of fate that flowed through the cosmos, seeking to understand the source of this unease. The patterns of the stars, the movements of the celestial bodies, all seemed to point to a coming storm, a convergence of forces that would bring chaos and destruction to the world below. Marduk's heart grew heavy as he contemplated what this could mean. What dark power was gathering in the shadows, waiting to strike? The visions that came to him were fragmented, disjointed, a series of images that flickered before his eyes like the fading light of a dying star. He saw the world of men engulfed in flames, the sky darkened by storm clouds that blotted out the sun. He saw the earth tremble, splitting open to reveal the fires of hell, the legions of the damned rising up to claim the souls of the living. And amidst this chaos, he saw Ira standing alone against the tide of darkness, his sword raised high, its blade gleaming with the cold light of the Blazefrost's celestial sword. For all his strength, for all his courage, Ira was only one man, and the forces arrayed against him were vast and unrelenting. The vision shifted, and Marduk saw Ira fall, his body broken, his spirit crushed beneath the weight of the darkness that sought to consume the world. Marduk's heart clenched with fear, a fear that he had not felt in eons. The vision was a warning, a glimpse of a possible future, one in which the world of men was lost to the forces of chaos and destruction. It was a future that must be averted at all costs. But what was the source of this coming storm? What power could be so great as to threaten the very fabric of existence, to bring about the end of all things? His thoughts turned to the underworld, to the creatures that dwelled in the depths of hell. He sensed a stirring in the abyss, a gathering of power that had gone unnoticed until now. There was a power at work here, a force that he could not fully comprehend, one that defied the natural order of the universe. As Marduk pondered the source of this disturbance, he found himself drawn to a place deep within the underworld, a place where even the gods dared not tread. It was a place of utter darkness, a void that existed outside the boundaries of the known universe, a place where the laws of reality held no sway. It was here, in this place of darkness and despair, that Marduk sensed the presence of something ancient, something that had been long forgotten by time. But try as he might, Marduk could not see into the depths of this void. His sight, which could pierce through the fabric of reality, was obscured, blocked by a force that he could not identify. It was as if the void itself resisted his gaze, refusing to reveal the secrets it held within. It was a power that he had never encountered before, a darkness that defied even the gods. Marduk's concern deepened. If there was something in the underworld that he could not see, something that could hide from the gaze of the gods, then it was a threat unlike any other. It was a force that could not be predicted, could not be countered, because it existed outside the bounds of what the gods knew, outside the boundaries of their control. And so as Marduk pondered the coming storm, he placed his hopes on Ira, the one being who had the strength and the will to stand against the forces of darkness. Marduk believed that Ira would protect humanity from whatever threat might arise, that he would be the shield that stood between the world and the chaos that sought to consume it. But Marduk did not know that Ira, for all his power, would be facing an enemy unlike any he had encountered before. He did not know that the creature who would bring about the end of all things was already making its way to the mortal world, slipping through the cracks in the fabric of reality, unseen and unnoticed. And Ira, for his part, remained vigilant. He knew that the peace they enjoyed now was fragile, that it could be shattered at any moment. He could feel the tension in the air, the sense that something was about to happen, something that would change everything. But he did not know what it was, could not predict where the next threat would come from. In heaven, Marta continued to watch over Ira, his hopes resting on the warrior who had proven himself time and again. But even as he watched, even as he placed his faith in Ira, Marta could not shake the feeling that something was amiss, that the world was on the brink of a great and terrible event. He could see the patterns of fate shifting, the currents of destiny pulling toward a dark and uncertain future. The storm that was coming, the event that would shake the very foundations of the world, was drawing closer with each passing day. And though Marduk could not see the source of this darkness, he knew that it was powerful, that it was something beyond the comprehension of the gods. The world was on the brink, the forces of hell stirring in the depths of the underworld, the balance of the cosmos teetering on the edge of chaos. And as the planets aligned, as the moment of destiny drew near, Marduk could only watch and wait, his hopes resting on the warrior who had become more than just a weapon, more than just a tool of the gods. Ira was the world's last hope, and Marduk could only pray that it would be enough.